Brian, I want to talk about the wide receiver position in 2022. And look, Notre Dame has had two pretty darn good recruiting classes, and it's very similar to the running back situation, but the wide receiver position, I would argue, might even be better from a depth standpoint. They got three, obviously, in the 2020 class. They got three in the 2021 class. What do they need to do to follow up those two pretty darn good recruiting classes, and how many of those kids do they need?
I think they need three again, but I could live with two if it's the right two.
Okay.
And the reason I say three again, because in the 2019 class, you have one receiver left from that class. That's Kendall Abdur-Rahman, who you've moved back and forth from running back to receiver. 2018 class is most likely going to be gone soon. And then you didn't have any receivers in the 2017 class left on campus. I mean, so you've had some misses, which is why you needed numbers in the last 2 years.
Sure.
So I think you need at least two in this class, and they need to be high level two. This is a position that Notre Dame has got a lot of talented players on the board, but I'm very concerned about this position moving forward because they're starting to throw out a lot of offers to kids who just aren't on the same level as the top players and aren't on the same level as the guys they've signed in the last 2 years. Usually when that starts to happen, we start to see a bunch of offers at one position, is because they don't think they're in good position with some of their top guys. I hope that I'm wrong on that, and they're just trying to expand because the other option is they're just trying to expand the board and just make sure that they have offers out. Some of these kids don't have committable offers. They know that. Hey, look, you have an offer, but we need to get you on campus first, because that's what coaches will do sometimes. They'll say, look, we're going to offer you because we like you, but we got to, but we're not going to take a commitment from you till we get you on campus. We got to get you through admissions, because you got to throw the offer out to even be in the game.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yep.
And so as long as there's good communication and these kids know, like, you couldn't just call up tomorrow and commit, then I'm okay with it. And still go after your top players. But there's guys on the board that if they can close on them, they could be big for Notre Dame. My concern, however, is that Chip Long played a huge role in the receivers that they got the last 2 years. And then Tommy Rees played a big role in getting Deion Colsey back into class. My concern is Del Alexander has not carried his weight the last couple of years on the recruiting trail.
Right.
And I need to see, and even when you talk to, for example, one of the kids in the 2022 class I love is a kid from the Chicago area, Caleb Brown. Every time Brian Smith talks to him from, who's one of our recruiting contributors who knows Caleb and talks to him, every time I hear a report about Notre Dame's interest in him, it's always from Tommy Rees. I never hear about Del Alexander. That's a problem.
Right.
You can't ask Tommy Rees to do this solo. It's got to be the receivers coach got to be involved. That's concerning for me. So he's going to have to step up and do a better job. I mean, simple as that. He's got to do a better job coaching, and he's got to do a better job recruiting. It's a big year for Del Alexander in that regards. And so we're going to find out, because like I said, Vince, it's a really deep year at receiver. And there are some guys at the top, for example, CJ Williams, who's from Mater Dei out in California. You got Tetaroa McMillan, who's from, I believe, Servite out in California. These are two five-star receivers that fit what Notre Dame style, bigger receivers, vertical players, both over 4.0 GPAs, both go to Catholic schools. You got to get one of them.
I was going to say, that's Notre Dame resume all over the place.
You got to get one of them, and if you don't, and this is an example of what I've said in the past. They both can get into Notre Dame. They're both Notre Dame kids. So if you don't get them, it's not because, kids don't want to go to class or kids don't care about academics. It's you got beat in recruiting. Exactly. So you got to get one of them. You've got to get a Caleb Brown type of player. And there's a player that's committed somewhere else whose name I'm not going to mention right now that they're trying to flip. And if you can flip him, that would be huge, because he's a very talented player. So they've got a chance to have a really dynamic receiving core. And there's some top level players, because that right there is the key, Vince. As good as last year's class was with Lorenzo Styles, Deion Colsey, Jaden Thomas, none of them are that truly elite player right now. I think Deion Colsey could be, but he's not one of those high ceiling guys. But neither of them are necessarily as good as Jordan Johnson was. Honestly, when I graded them all four out, the four best. So the two, Jordan Johnson, Xavier Watts from 2020, and then last year, Lorenzo Styles, Deion Colsey. As far as their grade incoming, I had Watts and Johnson both ahead of Colsey and Styles. That's how good that 2020 class was. 2021 class is more of a ceiling class, the high ceiling, but they're going to need some time to work into it. What this class in 2022 needs is they need at least one bona fide dude. You know what I mean? Like, we're talking Michael Floyd, Will Fuller, Chase Claypool dude that can come in and just be a dynamic, take over a game dude. Now it could be a Devontae Smith body type, or it could be a Chase Claypool body type. So I'm not talking necessarily about they need a specific size, but they just need a guy that when you look at him, if this guy has a chance to be special, this guy has a chance to be a Biletnikoff winner, right? There's some guys on the board that can be that. They got to get one of them. Okay. That's it. One. That's it. One. I'm not saying you got to land three of them. Okay. Right. You got to get one. And you should, because of how good your previous two classes were, you should be able to focus a little bit more time on those guys. And so that's going to be the key. So getting CJ Williams, getting McMillan, getting those type of players. There's another guy I really like in the class, Tobias Merriweather, another big-bodied 6'4 plus kid, really can run, really talented kid from Washington, likes Notre Dame a lot, but there's some other schools looking at him. He's another guy, go get him, right? Get it done. So it's just this receiver class, Vince, has a chance to be really good. They just got to close.
I got you.
And I think this is going to be a big year for Tommy Rees, because there's an opportunity in front of him to say, hey, yes, I'm young and I'm in it and blah, blah, blah. But you know what? I'm getting it done, right? And I can recruit, I can relate, I can get after it, I can grind. Because if he's able to put in the work and be a driver to success in this class, then some of those questions about him that are understandably there, because there's no track record. There's no track record with Tommy Rees. So we don't know what kind of recruiter he's going to be. He gets to silence those questions, and they're going to need him to, because there's a chance, Vince, for this offensive class to be special again, but he's going to have to do it because the head coach isn't going to do it, right? You can't ask Marcus Freeman, hey, can you help us recruit this wide receiver, right? You can't ask Mike Mickens or Mike Elson to do it. Y'all got to do it. And so it's a great opportunity for Tommy Rees to prove himself, and it's a make or break year for Dell Alexander, because if you strike out on all these top players this year, it's kind of like you're now entering into Autry Denson territory, where, when Notre Dame did get good running backs during the Autry Denson era, it wasn't him that was the driving force behind it. It was somebody else. You can't have that.